Legislative Day number 8 will now come to order. Please rise for a moment of silent meditation. I will now call upon Councilman Marks, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
before we sit down, I would like to see the council a moment of silence in memory of the former Speaker of the House of Delegates. Absolutely. Who passed away Sunday a week ago. He was the longest serving Speaker in Maryland history. And so if we would just have a moment of silence in his memory, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of April 1st, 2019?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Been a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Journal's approved. A little feedback there. Bills 2-19, 6-19, and 7-19 were passed by the council, signed by the executive, and are hereby enrolled. Mr. Secretary, now read all bills for introduction, please.
Mr. Chair, Bill 15-19, sponsored by Councilman Jones, zoning regulations, convenience stores. Bill 16-19, sponsored by Councilman Marks, development impact fees. Bill 17-19, annual budget and appropriation ordinance of Baltimore County. Bill 18-19, personnel law of Baltimore County. Bill 19-19, property tax. Bill 20-19, income tax. Bill 21-19, tax on telephones and wireless service. Bill 22-19, taxation transient occupancy tax. And Bill 23-19, development impact surcharge.
Council now consider all bills for final reading and vote. Mr. Secretary, first bill, please.
Bill 8-19, small wireless facility design guidelines.
I know we have Milana Boehner, I believe, here to testify. And good evening, Ms. Boehner. Nice to see you again.
Good evening. I'm just going to summarize more of what I did at the work session and just kind of pare it down. The FCC issued a final declaratory ruling and third order and report in September of 2018, which was meant to streamline the deployment process of small wireless facilities. We can't do anything that materially inhibits and therefore effectively prohibits deployment of small wireless facilities. It set shot clocks for approvals and fee limitations. There's no moratoria for an FCC order issued in August of 2018, and it also limits environmental and historical review per an FCC order issued in March of 2018. The purpose of small cells is to increase capacity for dense urban and suburban areas with data-hungry users. The estimates from the 4 major providers are 60 new small antennas per square mile per carrier in the next 5 or so years, plus approximately 8 miles of new fiber in each square mile, 1 antenna every 300 to 600 feet in the street. Verizon estimates 10 to 100 times more antenna locations than what currently exists. Safety and aesthetics are what has been left to us. These standards must be reasonable, no more burdensome than those applied to other types of infrastructure deployments, objective, and published in advance. This bill is fulfilling these requirements and publishing prior to the April 15th deadline. It was a collaborative effort between the law office, permits, approvals, and inspections, OIT, Department of Public Works, Planning, and OBF. We looked at dozens of sample manuals, laws, and guidelines from states and cities, and so this wasn't completely created from scratch, but we incorporated county processes and standards to the best of our ability. In the previous work session, I also provided visual aids, which included a GIS map of what we're aware of so far, examples of sites deployed in the county, examples of sites deployed nationwide, and an example of Boston's cooperative effort with industry to create pre-approved designs, and our design manual will do the same. In addition to the design standards, we're concurrently working on a web application and permitting process, cost studies, application and deployment tracking, a GIS layer, form agreements, including ongoing current negotiations with carriers. The bill addresses general guidelines for existing, new, and replacement SWIFTs, antennas, support structures, ground-mounted facilities, mid-span installations, minimum requirements for submissions, SWIFTs in historic districts, landmark properties, noise, spacing, undergrounding construction, safety requirements, requirements for surety bonds and other financial equivalents, indemnity and hold harmless provisions. We also, so we've also submitted an amendment, and the amendment defines certain key terms and then applies them consistently throughout the bill, clarifies that we are not waiving our ability to regulate SWIFTs on private property, expands on national, state, and local safety guidelines that will be followed, provides for clarification regarding shot clocks, public hearings, requests for waivers of any requirements, streetlight requirements, setbacks, placement, height, and size requirements, third-party pole owner requirements, application submittal requirements, an update to insurance requirements to include environmental remediation, and adds a section regarding the county's retention of local police power and the effect of any future changes in governing law. We received comments from both Verizon and AT&T, many of which we've incorporated in the submitted amendment. We did also receive a last-minute submission from Verizon this evening, but we haven't had a chance to vet that or really review it at this time. So in terms of the shot clocks, they apply to any approval that a siting authority may issue, and we have 60 days for a SWIFT added to an existing structure and 90 days for a SWIFT using a new structure. And that includes electric permits, right-of-ways, road closures, agreements, leases. Every part of the county approval process has to be done either within 60 or 90 days unless it's told or the application is incomplete. That's it.
Any questions or comments? Councilman Patoka?
Thank you for that report. Do you have a sense of when we'll be up and running with 5G?
Up and running with 5G?
Yeah.
Truly, we don't. We've seen articles here and there from Verizon or from AT&T saying they have 5GE or that they've done it in Minneapolis or Chicago, but those cell phones at the time they released their news conference, at the time of the news conference, that cell phone didn't even exist on the market yet to be able to handle 5G.
Because I understand Korea is up and running with 5G, and I guess we'll learn from how their operations function. Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
My colleague, Councilman Katch, informs me that it's South Korea that's up and running. So let me correct that.
All righty.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Councilman.
I just want to thank the team for what has obviously been seems to me a pretty heavy lift. So thank you for the team for doing this. I wish we didn't have to do it. I think my thoughts on the subject were pretty much made clear during the work session. It feels as though the Fed has stepped in and usurped some of the council's authority, and I don't like that. So I just wanted to make that clear once again. I'll wrap it up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions or comments from the council? We had a lot of discussion at the work session. Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, now, Mr. Secretary, I understand there's an amendment to Bill 8-19?
There is an amendment in your books, Mr. Chair, and I believe Ms. Vayner went through the basics of that amendment, and I would rather not attempt to replicate her testimony here. But it basically defines more terms and does more than what the bill did. And as she indicated, they not only did the law office reevaluate the bill in the last week and add some provisions, but they also received feedback from the carriers, Verizon and AT&T.
We were able to incorporate some of those concerns into the amendments?
Yes.
We did.
And it's our intention that once we start working on the actual design manual, and the work will start very soon, because we have a year to do it, that we will have BGE and AT&T and Verizon Mobility and whatever other wireless provider or carrier as part of the process, so we can, it's a cooperative effort.
And recall that, as we pointed out, that with manuals, the council always has the last say on the manuals, so we'll be back here in a year with the new manual.
Any other questions on the amendment from the council? Is there a motion to approve the amendment to Bill 8-19?
So moved. Second.
It's been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 8-19.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Catch?
Aye.
The amendment passes. Is there a motion to approve Bill 8-19 as amended?
So moved.
And I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 8-19 as amended.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Bill 8-19 as amended is passed. Thank you all for your work. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Bill 9-19 is sponsored by Councilman Jones. Metropolitan District Review of Wastewater User Charges. Time for request.
Councilman Jones?
Yes, I'll ask my colleagues to please consider supporting this measure. Basically, we do a lot of very important things here, and a lot of the decisions we make and a lot of bills we pass really have impact. But I dare say that this is something that can really make a tremendous difference to people who find themselves on the wrong side of this issue. We had a person testify during the work session about how they had a leak in their home. They had it repaired. They had the water bill adjusted with the city. And then they came, and because they missed the 90 days, and the reason they missed the 90 days was because they weren't notified until the mortgage company told them that their mortgage payment was going up because of the shortage of the escrow. And by that time, it was too late. So we came up with the 240 days basically by talking to probably 6 of the largest mortgage companies that do business here in the state, if not the nation, starting with Wells Fargo, Chase Manhattan, and right down the line. And we asked them, when do you notify the citizens of the escrow analysis? And they said that they do it once a year, but the time that they were under no specific time frame of when they would notify the citizens. Some of them said they would do it in November. Some of them said they would get around to it in January. A lot of them reminded me how they were doing it all across the country. So what we did, we wanted to push the date beyond a time where people would have at least have an opportunity to appeal. Because the gentleman that spoke is a classic example. His bill went up close to $700, and that was too much for his family to afford. And I walked away thinking, wait a minute, it was like $3,500. But if you recall, if you have a shortage in your escrow, the first thing that happens is the $3,500 in the past has to be made up. Either that it goes on your payment or you pay it out of your pocket. And then moving forward, the bank is going to make adjustments and adjust your escrow for that. So that will tell you how your bill can go up very, very high. And to be quite frank, when when we tell a person no, without thinking about the causes, I just don't think it does us as a county any good to tell somebody no. Because it's almost like saying, I see you're hanging on by a thread, you're hanging on by a string, but guess what, I can't help you. And walk away not know, and you have to know something bad is going to happen. You have to know that something bad is going to happen if a person sits there with a $600 increase in their mortgage, and they have to endure that. And so hopefully this bill will give people an opportunity to at least appeal that charge, and hopefully we will be a little more understanding as it relates to thinking about the people who find themselves in this situation. Nobody asked to be in this situation, not like they want to be in this situation, but here they are. So I think it's important that we help them. And on this note, Mr. Chair, I'd like to, I guess, pass along to my colleague, because one of the things I did in my newsletter, I talked about this issue and asked people could they explain to me. And lo and behold, I had several people, at least 2 today, that said, I had that issue, but I had no idea what to do.
Okay. Sure. Any questions or comments from the members to Councilman Jones? Councilman Couch?
Question. So we're going from 3 months to 8 months.
Yes.
Yes. I guess I'm a little confused. Why wouldn't, seems that you would go from 3 months to 6 months
Okay, so the issue,
instead of 8 months?
so the issue is a lot of people, and I'll use myself as an example. Once upon a time, many, many years ago, I was instructed to take my tax bill and fax it off to my mortgage company. Well, now what happens is the mortgage companies get that information from a company that basically downloads all the bills from Baltimore County that they care about. So the property owner or the homeowner is not really that engaged. They may get, like this gentleman, I asked him, he got his tax bill, he looked at the bill, he read it. It didn't mean much to him because he wasn't comparing it to his last year's bill. So he got the bill and he set it down. So he didn't know the consequences of what was on that bill until the mortgage company contacted him and said, your escrow is short, we're going to go up on your payment by $700. Now he knows he has a problem. Now he realizes that, oh, this goes back to that water leak I had. But the problem is the 90 days is gone. So the reason we came up with 240 days is based on talking to the mortgage companies to say, when do you notify the homeowners of their escrows? So the number we received, we talked to 6 of the largest mortgage companies, and they basically said they would give the escrow analysis once a year, but they could not say exactly when. Most of them gave me dates from November to like January. None of them said February. Most of them were right there in that November, December range, and a few said possibly as late as January. So the idea would be, once people are notified that they have an issue, they will have an opportunity to appeal that charge.
Did you say that the mortgage company could get back in January and February, or just January?
Once a year.
Yeah,
So
no,
January.
but by January, so that's actually 7 months.
Right. Well, we pushed it to 8 months to the end of, the bills come out July 1.
Right.
So we pushed it to the end of February. So if you were one of these people that get your bill in, let's say if you get your bill in January and you realize there's an issue, well, you only have 30 days. But at least it's better than 90 days that has long gone. At least you have an opportunity to appeal it.
So it would be people that would not look at their property tax bill when it comes, would not compare the water charges, wastewater, I guess, between
Sewer charge.
storage, okay, between last year and the current bill.
Right.
And he only determined there was a problem when the yearly charge was going to go up by $700, spread
Right.
out over 12 months.
Right.
Or 6 months, whatever is left.
And you have quite a few people. Since that time, since I brought this issue up, it appears as though many of my colleagues have had similar stories that they can relate to. And it's almost like I have this issue, but I don't share it. You have an issue, you don't share it. And then when somebody says, hey, here's an issue, everybody else pops up and says, hey, I have the same issue. I had the same issue last week. I have the same issue next week. So quite a few of my colleagues have had very similar issues, if not the same. So, and just to be clear, one of the reasons I asked the gentleman that was here last week, what was his education level? He has a master's degree from Johns Hopkins. I don't want to speak out of turn, but one of my other colleagues who showed me that he has the same issue, this guy's a school teacher. So it's not like people are somehow they're just uneducated and uninformed. These are educated people. They're looking at a bill, the same bill that they've looked at for the last 10 years, and it just doesn't mean that much to them. They don't know what like the guy that was here. I said, well, why didn't you look at your bill? He said, I did look at it, but it didn't. I can't change my taxes. It is what it is.
Now, has that constituents issue been resolved?
Yes, it has.
And how was it resolved? To the constituents' way of thinking? I mean, because I know that the city of Baltimore, that the meter readings are in error at times. But there's no doubt about it. So I'm trying to, so it was resolved and there was some compromise?
Yeah, I'm going to have the Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Rogers, talk to that. But I guess the only point I'm going to add before I give up my time, I guess, is this is really about the people that we don't see, that have a similar problem, that don't know that they can call a council person. They don't know, I mean, when we fix a problem, we should be fixing a problem for everybody.
I think the thing that frightens me is the fact that I think we have many homeowners in Baltimore County that have paid the higher amount.
Oh.
And maybe it's justified, maybe it's not. I'm sure you know about what's the city and about the meters, et cetera, so. Yeah.
Thank you. And Councilman Jones, you talked about this issue, and you know that I'm laser focused on the whole water bill and sewer, and distribution, water distribution there too. And in the coming months, we are going to do an end-to-end this process analysis so that we can look at how we operate now. And I have been able to confirm through my
Councilman Couch?
With some of my constituents calling about this issue, they get involved when the actual quarterly water bill comes, and it'll be maybe $500 water being used in that quarter. And the issue is they call the city, and the city knocks the bill down. They knock it down. So the constituent believes that because the city has knocked down the bill, that the county isn't going to hold that person on the county level for that sewer usage, even if it's right or wrong. But I don't know. I'm just letting you know that that's what has happened. So you have one agency, the city government say, it's okay, we'll lower it to $100 or $50. But people don't understand the county does not offer those reductions.
Well, see, that's why I believe that we need an end-to-end business process analysis, and that's one of the areas that, I pay a lot of attention to based on how we're doing this. Now, we know here in Baltimore County, it's a little bit of an anomaly because in most jurisdictions, one jurisdiction is in determining the water fee, and the other jurisdiction is determining the distribution and the sewer fee, the sewage part of it. We are in a unique situation here. So the best recommendation, the way I'm looking at it, is to do the complete end-to-end business process analysis and compare this to the industry best practice and where we need to make adjustments. But in the interim, effectively, immediately, when individuals have problems and they call Metro, this is inside the government, and we have to do this through practice and policies and the standard operating procedures that we are going to work with Director Welch's team on. We need to be responsive to citizens who come forward and say, I missed the deadline, but there is a big mistake. I'm seeing my mortgage has drastically gone up, or my bill went up, and I'm just recognizing it because we know there's a problem. That's the only fair and prudent thing as a government to do.
And
Then take this broader look at how we're operating.
And I appreciate that. I suspect that my conclusion is that we should have something like a WSSC in place of the system we have today, because Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and Anne Arundel County should all have representation on this particular board that will control the water, the sewage, et cetera. And I think we'll find that it's a lot more efficient and effective. So you might want to maybe approach one of our legislators about trying to do something like that. I know it's long range, but I think it's the right way to go.
Councilman Jones, do you have something?
I just wanted to thank the administration for being so receptive to this. And it is truly a new day. We heard from the county executive today, and I'm very excited about their desire to make positive change in Baltimore County.
Councilman Patoka?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank Councilman Jones for bringing this issue forward, because, pardon me, I do believe it's a systemic issue. At our work session, right after our work session, as I walked to my office, my legislative aide, Justin Silberman, was on a conversation with a constituent with a very similar problem, Mr. Fisher, who may be here today. Mr. Fisher? Hi, Mr. Fisher. So Mr. Fisher had the same issue as Mr. Oden, and I just think that because it's coming out so prevalently, and thank you, Ms. Rogers, for looking at it as a business practice. And I think we should look at it business practice from top to bottom, because I know that I've known you for many years, Ms. Rogers, and I know that customer service is really important to you. You've shared that with us. But for us in Baltimore County, customer service has to be our front line. And our front line is going to be how we are received with our level of customer service. So I think we should all please keep that in mind as you kind of unpeel the onion. Is that the right expression? Unpeel the onion on this. And again, thank you, Councilman Jones, for bringing it forward.
Councilman Marks?
I just want to echo Councilman Catch's comments about the need for a regional water authority. It was actually something that the county council addressed in a resolution in 2010 when Mr. Kamenetz was council member. I believe the Metropolitan District is a century old or so, and I think it is time for the General Assembly to really look at this, because it will take the General Assembly to do this.
Any other questions or comments from the
Yeah,
members? Councilman
I
Couch?
was not there when
You were not
it
there.
opened,
Right.
okay? When the system was opened, okay? I was not there.
That's a good thing.
By a couple years.
Councilman Jones?
I would like to refer to my partner on the bill, Councilwoman Bevins. You want to talk about your contribution and how we came together? I don't want to speak for you.
I had some of the same, thank you, Mr. Chair and Councilman Jones. I had some of the same issues. We're averaging probably around 10 a year. And for the folks that had this issue, it was very challenging for them financially. So I appreciate all the work that's being done on this. I do have an amendment that basically was just for technical purposes. When you receive your bill, there's a lot of bolded items, but to talk about an appeal, that was not bolded. So, you know, it was kind of, I don't want to say hidden, but it just didn't draw your attention to it, and the administration has agreed to fix that moving forward and putting a little bit more information in there about who to contact and phone numbers and addresses and a name. So thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it. I don't have my big chart. No, I left my
See,
big
the
chart.
big chart of the work session.
I didn't.
Any other questions or comments? We do have two different amendments, as one was just spoken about. Any other questions or comments before we get to the amendments?
This one is Ms. Corey Lyles here? Okay, there you go.
All righty. Mr. Secretary, can you read the First Amendment to Bill 9-19?
Mr. Chair, the First Amendment is related to the subject matter of the bill, in that the subject matter of the bill is to extend the time period for review by the Director of Public Works. And this amendment would add a subsection to that section of the code to require certain reporting at the end of each year. And it really goes to that customer service issue, actually, that the administrative officer spoke of, because it will require Public Works to submit to the County Council a report that details a number of issues in terms of requests that are made for review, the cumulative and average dollar amount of the charges for those requests, the number of requests that are denied, the average dollar amount for the ones that are denied, any denials that may be based on the timeliness of the request, and then it also requests statistics related to appeals that are made to the Board of Appeals, which would be the next stage of review. And then an uncodified section of the bill would also request that an interim report be delivered to the County Council at the end of this fiscal year, which is June 30th, 10 days later, that would report similar to what the more permanent aspect of the amendment would require.
Any questions or comments on this amendment? Councilman Couch?
How long do you think this study is going to take? think June 30th is going to work for a preliminary report?
I doubt that we could get the business process analysis done, but the request of an interim report on the data that's listed in the amendment, there's data there, but there's two things I would caution. We don't want to get ourselves, when we're dealing with a lot of hand counts, because hand counts are time consuming and they're prone to error. We really do have to look at this from a holistic perspective and ensure that we can develop ad hoc reporting where this could be done in an automated way. So we just saw that. I just saw this today. There's one part that I think Councilmember Jones, the team has talked to you about, the provision where it says denials based on the timeliness of the request for all denials based on timeliness. We are saying upfront that a request would not be denied based on timeliness. A request will be reviewed for whether or not it meets the criteria for an appeal. So for us to go through writing code and algorithms to pull that piece out, I don't necessarily feel that that's a good investment of coding time to get a actual ad hoc report done, because I really feel that if we're going to do this correctly, we need to do this in an automated fashion and not in hand counts. You know, hand counts really don't yield what we're looking for. I fully support, you know, reporting and transparency.
What date do you think would be more appropriate so that we will get a report that will have meaning and really give us an idea of what is going on and what you plan to do, et cetera?
Well, the end-to-end review that we need, is the report you're speaking of,
Yes.
Councilman Katz.
Yes.
I really cannot give you a definitive deadline because that's going to depend on our procuring the independent entity to do our end-to-end business process analysis. Because we've got to do the Baltimore City side, we've got to do what we do inside at Metro, we've got to do what we do when that data comes over to OIT, then that data then goes to budget. I've done that preliminarily, just trying to see the whole widget process here so we can understand what was going on and how we are assessing bills now. But I would suggest that in any business process analysis, it's going to take a good 30 to 60 days or more for an independent entity to come in and look at the process. So tack onto that the time we need to procure it. We're already looking at ways to procure it. Are there entities out there that are on supply schedules that we can put a scope of work together? But we're going to try to do it as expeditiously as we can, because that's what we need to do. But I would hate to sit here and give a time specific. I would think it's going to take a good anywhere from 60 to 90 days to go from procurement, get the person on board, and then they do the work, giving them their time period to do the work.
The sponsor of the amendment,
Now this
would,
is something I believe we could do the interim in gathering the data that is requested. That's a separate thing. This amendment is asking for us
Yeah.
to give data back
Right.
to the city.
Mr. Jones is the sponsor of the amendment, by the way.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm just sitting here thinking that we have a new administration, and we have an administration that is very much into openness and transparency and wants to get things under control. And I do get a little concerned about deadlines. Would you consider getting rid of the June 30 and let them decide what a good time is for them to get back to us with something more substantial than just the statistics as to, you know, how many people had the problem, how many it was resolved? Because we need to get this resolved. There's no doubt about it. I just ask if you would consider.
I think, first of all, I appreciate all the work and efforts and openness that we have with the administration. And I feel real good about where we are. But to be quite honest and frank, the reason I said before, when somebody brings us a problem, it's important that we get it right for all the people that don't show up, that, they don't know what the process is. They look at the process, they look at their bill, they look at the process, it says 90 days, this is the 95th day. Oh, well, they just turn around and walk away and suck it up, and whatever happens, happens. So the issue here with the reporting, and the reason that, to be quite frank, what we're trying to do is build a system for as long as Baltimore County is here, so that when this administration and Julian Jones and Wade Katz, when we're all gone, that we've left something behind that's going to be open and fair to the citizens. Because like I said before, I was getting to it, we do a lot of important things around here, but something like this can really affect somebody's quality of life, as well as whether or not they're going to be foreclosed on their home. So the the first reporting, hey, we understand you're going to do the best you can. You're going to tell us something, and we understand that. We expect more out of after we've done this for a year. We expect more information there, but we understand where we are. So I don't think, in my mind, that the first reporting period would be that bigger deal, because we're only asking for data. And if they don't have the data today, or if they don't have the information, then they can say, we don't have the information. But moving forward, we're going to start capturing that information. Because to be quite frank, I tell you, whatever information you have, just anecdotally talking to people, some people have called the office, someone's answered the phone, and they made a determination right then and there that it's beyond the 90 days, and you cannot appeal it. And that person goes away, and I'm not sure if we record that information, whether or not we write down who they are and where they are. So I understand that certain information just won't be 100% accurate because we're just starting. But moving forward, then we need to set up a process that we can evaluate that. You can't, I learned a long time ago, you must inspect what you expect. You can't say you want to do a good job, but you never want to measure the job you're doing, because then you just pat yourself on the back and say, we're doing great. So this gives us an opportunity to see how big an issue this is, and whether or not the issues that we've been able to talk about with the people that have come forward, whether or not this is the way it is with everybody, or is it just that way with a small group of people. But we would not know that unless we measure it.
All right, so we still have 2 amendments on the floor. Any other questions or comments on the First Amendment? Is there a motion to approve the First Amendment to Bill 9-19?
So moved.
Second.
It's been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the First Amendment to Bill 9-19.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
This First Amendment passes. Mr. Secretary, please read the next amendment to Bill 9-19.
The next amendment, Mr. Chair, is sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins. Mrs. Bevins alluded to it at the work session and then just moments ago. This amendment would basically require the Director of Budget and Finance in making up the tax bill to require that the statement conspicuously state in a separate paragraph under its old bolded heading labeled, quote, review by Director of Public Works, unquote, the following sentence: pursuant to Section 20-5-110 of the County Code, any request for review of the Metropolitan District water user charges shall be addressed to the Director of the Department of Public Works within 240 days after mailing of the bill for such charges, unquote. And the amendment would also require the Director to include the name, mailing address, and phone number for the Director of Public Works.
And any questions or comments on this amendment? Everybody good? All right, is there a motion for this amendment?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the second amendment.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Second amendment passes. Any other discussion on Bill 9-19 as amended? Everybody good? Is there a motion to approve Bill 9-19 as amended?
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 9-19 as amended.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Bill 9-19 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Next is Bill 10-19, sponsored by Councilman Marks, zoning regulations, downtown Towson DT district signs.
Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. This legislation simplifies the process by which signs are reviewed in downtown Towson. Right now, all signs in the downtown Towson district must be reviewed by the Design Review Panel. Bill 1019 would say that the Department of Planning would review every signage proposal administratively and decide whether or not the proposal should be referred to the Design Review Panel for its evaluation. We will keep the requirement that requires any signage above the 6th floor to be reviewed by the DRP. We have had situations where building owners have potentially lost tenants because of the months it can take for DRP review.
Any questions or comments to Councilman Marks? And I understand there's one amendment, Mr. Secretary?
There is one amendment, Mr. Chair. The amendment substantively would, the bill in lines 15 through 18 had provisions that would require the determination of the planning department's referral to the DRP or not to be reviewed by the county council, or at least have a 14-day letter to the county council. This amendment would remove that and allow that determination to be made administratively by planning. And there is also language in the amendment dealing with a mural, which I think Mr. Marks wanted to expound on.
Thank you very much. I want to take out the language that says the county council shall review signage. We're not sign experts. We have professionals who can do that, and I want to take that language out. Also, where it was submitted to you all, and it's in your books, it says that the Department of Planning would review murals up to 15 feet above street level. I'd like to say up to 20 feet above street level.
All right. Any questions or comments?
Would you consider amending to 18 feet?
So it'll be 20 feet instead of 15.
So we can make that change in the official. I have made it with my pencil, but we can make that official based on what you're voting on.
So that would be part of the motion.
Yes.
All right. And is there a motion to approve the amendment to Bill 10-19?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Been motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 10-19 as we just updated.
Yes, sir. Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
The amendment passes. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve Bill 10-19 as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 10-19 as amended.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Bill 10-19 as amended is passed. There are no fiscal matters for consideration this evening, so we will now consider miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item, please.
The first item is correspondence from the Office of Budget and Finance. Whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than formal competitive bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the county council, and the nature and parties to that contract be announced by the secretary at the next legislative session following the award of the contract. There is one such contract this evening. This is a contract with EMS Technologies, LLC, in the amount of $44,500.
Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next item is Resolution 46-19, sponsored by Mr. Marks. This is the removal of the designation of the Susquehannock Trail Park site.
Councilman Marks?
Sure. Several years ago, the council named some park properties in Perry Hall. Subsequently, the Honeygo Elementary School was built at one of these park properties. This is basically a cleanup bill that removes that park name since the elementary school sits on that property.
Any questions or comments? Motion to approve Resolution 46-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 46-19.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Resolution 46-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 47-19, sponsored by Councilman Jones. This is a resolution authorizing the refund of property taxes paid to the surviving spouse of a disabled veteran, Pearl M. Bacote, who is entitled to the refund under state law.
It's my honor and privilege to move that resolution.
Second.
Motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 47-19.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Resolution 47-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 48-19, also sponsored by Councilman Jones, property tax refund authorization for Willie L. Sessoms, who is entitled to a refund under state law by virtue of being a disabled veteran.
My honor and privilege to move that resolution.
Second.
Motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 48-19.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye. Resolution 48-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is your consideration of the appointment by the county executive of Matt Renauld to the Baltimore County Design Review Panel.
And is there any questions or comments? Is Mr. Renauld here? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the appointment?
I move the appointment.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
The appointment is confirmed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is your consideration of the appointment by the county executive of Cindy L. Leppert to the Baltimore County Ethics Commission.
Any questions or comments? Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to speak on behalf of Ms. Leppert. I think she's an outstanding person. She's highly qualified in terms of reviewing our ethics issues. And I would also say that she's a fellow Woodlawn High grad, so I think that speaks well of her.
Is Ms. Leppert here?
Is Ms. Leppert here?
Okay. Any other questions or comments? And is there a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment, please.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The appointment is confirmed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is your consideration of the reappointment by Councilman Patoka of Ms. Deborah C. Dopkin to the Baltimore County Board of Appeals for a 3-year term.
And I do see Ms. Deborah Dopkin here, so we do appreciate you being here. And questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just am delighted, Ms. Dopkin, that you've served your time and you've accepted a second term, and I think you're an outstanding professional in the field of law. Your colleagues respect you, and I'm honored that you accepted my offer to stay on.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Outstanding choice.
Yep.
Outstanding
agree.
choice.
Yeah, I think we all agree. We really do appreciate your service, Ms. Dopkin. It's wonderful to have people on the Board of Appeals that really understand the law and understand the intricacies of the law and the Board of Appeals. So we do appreciate your service.
One question. Ms. Dopkin, I forgot to ask you, are you a Woodlawn High graduate? I still am honored that you've accepted the appointment.
All right, is there a motion to approve the appointment?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Motion and lots of seconds. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The appointment is confirmed. Congratulations and thank you, Ms. Dopkin. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 49-19, sponsored by Councilman Jones. This is an authorization for the refund of property taxes paid for April Allen, who is entitled to a refund under state law by virtue of being a disabled veteran.
It's It's my honor and privilege to move the resolution.
Second.
Motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 49-19.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Resolution 49-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 50-19 is sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins. This is a resolution concerning the public disclosure of Carrie A. Cuss, who is an employee of Baltimore County government and has applied for an administrative variance with the Office of Administrative Hearings. This resolution is intended to provide full public disclosure under Section 32-1102 of the County Code.
Any questions or comments?
I'll move it.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve Resolution 50-19.
Second.
And a second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 50-19.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Resolution 50-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 51-19 is submitted by the administration. This is a loan modification for Woodlawn Apartments Limited Partnership regarding RF Woodlawn Apartments LLC. For intro only this evening.
All right, and Mr. Secretary, is there any other farther business to come before the council?
There is no further business, Mr. Chair.
And is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
And is there a second? So I'll second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. As is customary, anyone who's signed up prior to the meeting with the secretary is allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Secretary, are there any speakers signed up for this evening?
There are 4 speakers, Mr. Chair.
All righty. And so what we'll do is I'll call up each speaker, and then I'll call up the next person. If the second speaker just can come up and sit close to the podium. And you're allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. So our first speaker is Susan Cassini, if I'm pronouncing that right, followed by Corey Lyles. And if Corey wants to come up and sit on the, what do we call that, the batter's box? Is that
Yeah,
the
on
batter's
deck.
box?
On deck.
On deck, thank you.
On deck.
On deck circle, said by the non-athlete here. And then followed by Wayne Allen, then followed by Lycid Colazo Dingle. And good evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Before you start the clock, can I just ask if you got the photos that I brought? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kim?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak at this meeting. I've come here today because my neighbors and I really need your help. We live in the Oak Forest subdivision of Catonsville and have a major problem with stormwater drainage. As you can see from the photos, the flooding is prevalent to the extent that some yards are fully underwater in part or in whole. Other yards, water rushes through mainly on the north to south axis, and even if it does stop to pool, the overflow ultimately runs out into the streets. Unfortunately, 2 of the streets, Park and Fairfield, do not have curbs or gutters, and the water is so voluminous it spills all the way across the street. And the streets are damaged from this storm water with the pavement erosion and ruts. It's important to point out that these photos were taken after an average rainfall, not torrential conditions. This happens every time it rains. Many residents have tried to address this problem on their own, some spending tens of thousands of dollars, only to transfer the problem to adjoining neighbors. There's simply nowhere for the water to go, and it's clear the problem must be addressed systematically, not individually. Another resulting problem from the lack of proper stormwater drainage is the loss of trees, shrubs, and other greenery from our properties. Oak Forest is approaching 100 years old, and as such has, or should I say had, an abundance of foliage, mature foliage. In recent years, much of this foliage has either drowned or succumbed to disease due to lack of proper stormwater drainage. 2 of the photos shown basically show the same location in the summer of 2006 versus today, and you can see all this shrubbery is gone. The Oak Forest subdivision is located in the Santee Branch subwatershed of the Patapsco River. According to the Lower Patapsco River Small Watershed Action Plan, our subdivision is designated as a high erodibility area. The largest fractions of highly erodible soils present present potential for addressing soil conservation issues such as minimizing bare soil and keeping topsoil in place.
It's obvious from the photos of stormwater runoff from these roads that the topsoil is being eroded and flowing into the stormwater system, which ultimately ends up in the Chesapeake Bay. Lastly, in approximately 2003-2004, DPW undertook a stormwater remediation project in the Oak Forest subdivision. Although this was before my time, neighbors who were here were told the purpose of the project was to increase storm drain capacity to address flooding that was occurring in the neighborhoods north of Frederick Avenue. During this effort, drains were installed in several properties in the Oak Forest subdivision, which indicates the county was aware that the efforts to relieve the flooding north of Frederick Road would likely result in flooding south of Frederick Road. I'm here today as a representative of the neighborhood south of Frederick Road to ask for assistance in addressing this resulting issue. A representative group of neighbors, including myself, have met with Councilman Quirk about this issue, who suggested we come to this meeting to present the problem. We've collected over 50 signatures of concerned neighbors who are eager to have this problem addressed, and we would appreciate your guidance and assistance in getting this issue resolved.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Any questions or comments from the council? Councilman Patoka?
Yes. Thank you for bringing this issue to the council's attention. This issue is prevalent throughout the county. We have the same issue in Ruxton, where 2 houses are being built on Boyce Avenue, and there's a 15-inch outfall into the adjacent property on Overbrook. And the resident's backyard used to be a backyard, and now this looks like his backyard. And I think that we've got to really start to look at this as a serious issue in this county if we expect people to want to live in this county, because we're not Venice, we're Baltimore County. And so thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
Councilman Couch?
Yeah, I too want to thank you. I have constituents who have the issue of their neighbor trying to remediate their problems, and it's going on to the neighbor's property. Mr. Field, what are the legal, I mean, if I have a house and I'm funneling the water away from my house because my basement's flooding and that water's ending up on my neighbor's property.
Well, I mean, there's this sort of, and we look at this every now and then, there's this sort of riparian rights thing that makes it very difficult, but where you sort of have to accept the water. But obviously, if the person is doing it intentionally, they might have a private cause of action. But
So what you're saying is that if
I don't know that we'd be involved in it.
If a homeowner basically is trying to resolve their problem and it happens to affect their neighbor,
It'd be a private issue.
that's a private issue.
I mean, they're
And
creating a private nuisance.
if the neighbor, Chris, I don't know how you would prove, is trying to agitate the one next door, where are we there?
I'm not sure I follow.
No, if the person's doing it on purpose.
It still sounds like it's a private
Still
issue.
some
I mean,
private issue.
I guess I'd need to know a little bit more, but we're typically, we get a lot of complaints like this about, private disputes. We tend to try to not get
Yeah.
too involved in them.
But
So,
Mr. Field, I think we are involved if we're approving plans that such as the one in Ruxton, where we approve a 15-inch outfall into someone's backyard. And I think that we really need to...
That's a different, I mean, in other words, the example that Mr. Couch gave was neighbor on neighbor. Yeah.
True.
Councilman Jones?
Now, I guess I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Ms. Susan, for bringing this issue to our attention. And just to remind everyone that this is one of the things that make your local government great, is the opportunity for any citizen to come forward with an issue and speak for 3 minutes on any issue they want. They don't have to be invited. This is something that's unique in government in terms that you can't do this at the state level. You can't do it at the federal level. Only at your local government can you come and bring an issue and bring it to our attention the way you're doing it. So I appreciate you taking this opportunity to be here. Thank you for your advocacy.
Other questions or comments? Well, I mean, I will certainly say, Susan, I appreciate you coming out. I really think you are hitting on something that really affects all 7 council members. I can tell you the Director of Public Works is in the audience. Steve Walsh is sitting back there, taking everything in, believe me. And we have the county executives.
Can I get you some photos?
Just go see Steve Walsh after this for sure. But I think what Susan's talking about really hits home for all 7 council members. And the fact of the matter is we're literally, and this is very much pun intended, the amount of money that we're putting into stormwater remediation literally is a drop in the bucket. I mean, there's not 2 or 3 drops, it's like a little tiny drop, because it's maybe $3 million, I think, every fiscal year, where when we have our sewer and our water, it's funded by $1 billion budget. But when we have stormwater issues, which, believe me, we've had more than our fair share, obviously in Catonsville, Oella, with the Memorial Day floods and the 2 Ellicott City floods close by, the amount of money that we have in the budget for this issue is just honestly not even close to being sufficient or even close to being adequate. And so, Susan, I appreciate your advocacy, calling this to our attention, because it is something that we have such a long way to go. And we have a lot of storm drains in the system that are 50, 60 years old, that are literally just one sinkhole away from falling in, and a lot of concerns out there with certainty that make me very concerned. So I do appreciate you coming in, and please keep up the advocacy, because this is an issue not only for Fairfield, but for a lot of the areas in the county for sure. Councilman Patoka?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier today, we heard from the county executive on creating an Office of Sustainability, and I think this is related to it, because we've had unprecedented weather events over the past year, and I think the year before that, and I think that our office, if I'm calling it right, is it an office or director of sustainability? Something in that area, that we look at it more globally and how it affects our stormwater infrastructure and other things related to our ability to be a great county, especially with weather events and global warming and issues related to that.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, the next speaker is Corey Lyles, followed by Wayne Allen. Good evening. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me and listening to my concern. My name is Corey Lyles, and I am a single mother of 4. I am actually one that is affected by your Bill 919. Recently, I was told that I have a $28,000 sewer bill that has increased my mortgage by $1,300. So I hear $700, but it's $1,300 good and over here. I have called the office. I was advised by my mortgage going up. I didn't receive the mail. It could have come in the mail, but I did not see it and everything. I think all of us have missed mail at times. But when my mortgage payment went up, and again, you know, I'm an average person. I do have a college degree. I understand what I'm reading, but I called customer service at Metropolitan, and January, heard nothing. February, nothing. March, nothing. I was told because of the weather they would send an inspector out. No one was there. I just recently, once honestly Councilman Jones kind of got involved, I got a call Thursday. I got a call Thursday from them, and they were willing to reduce the bill some by splitting it with another house that they thought was responsible for that amount, but it didn't resolve the issue that there was not $28,000 worth of poop used at all in my house. So I am looking for customer service, because they didn't know what to do over the phone. And if you will, I would have missed the current 90 days just for the mere fact of waiting for your inspector to come. I've called, and notes are in the system. So I do need assistance from you, because I didn't know where to go. I just called customer service, which originally took me to Baltimore City and then sent me to Metro. Baltimore City credited for a water leak. There was a break underground. But when you call the county, the representative that called me back Thursday had said the county just does not adjust. The city can adjust all they want, but the county won't. Oh, well. And I said, oh, well, are you sure? So then I did get Steve Wells with me that I could do an appeal to. But again, that was just as of Thursday. But right now, you know, I am possibly facing foreclosure, because I'm an average person that is trying to pay her mortgage, and she can't because of this mistake.
Councilman Jones.
Ms. Lyles, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come here today and share your story with us. Ms. Lyles came along while in the middle of this bill when I found out about her, and she came forward, and I told her that we had already had a work session, but she insisted that she wanted to come here and tell her story. So I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to come here and the courage to come here and tell us your story. And I am hopeful that we will provide some relief for you. And because the fact of the matter is, this bill that I introduced is moving forward, but bringing light to the situation is causing all of us to take a good look at what's going on. So I'm hopeful that we can get something done for you. Sure. I appreciate you coming out. I know it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. And, I don't want to lose my home. My home is a foundation to me.
Yep.
So that is why I'm here.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. And I think it's in the county's interest that no homeowner loses their home because of a sewage bill. I think it's in all of our interests that we do whatever is necessary. Mr. Chairman and Ms. Lyles, one of the things I was thinking about earlier on, last year we increased the Metro fee, just to be real quick. We increased the Metro fee by 13 or 14%. But then we had the wherewithal to say, we don't want anybody's bill to go up more than $100. So if your bill went up $300 because of us increasing the fee, we were going to spread that out over the course of 3 years. It was only going to go up $100 a year, and then the next year go up another 100, and then the following year 100. I think that was great that we would take that step to care about someone when we're talking about $100. Here we're talking big numbers, and it seems like that this is an issue that just hasn't received that same level of attention.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, thank you for coming in. Definitely is very impactful for you taking the time and really putting a face to an issue as well. Really goes a long way. So I appreciate you coming in as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. Our next speaker is Wayne Allen, followed by Lizette Calonzo Dingle, followed by Mr. Jim Fisher. Good evening, Mr. Allen.
And good evening to the Baltimore County Council. I'm a proud Poly graduate, not Woodlawn. But my job here tonight is just to bring greetings on behalf of my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I'm Zeta Sigma Chapter. We're the city chapter. President Alfred Jackson. We were founded January 9th, 1914 at Howard University by 3 African-American males. We were founded on 3 principles: brotherhood, scholarship, and service. And we have 3 programs, which is bigger and better business, education, and social action. We just want to let the Baltimore County Council know that we are here because we are a service fraternity, and we serve the communities in which we live. I'm a proud resident of Baltimore County, and I'm here to help and serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you so much, sir.
Appreciate it. Ms. Lizette Calazzo Dingle, followed by Mr. Jim Fisher. And good evening as well. Thank you all for joining us.
Good evening. My name is Lisette Koyasu Dingle, and I'm here with my beautiful sorority sisters of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And we thank you for allowing us to be here today to observe and ask questions. Just to tell you a little bit about our organization, we were founded January 16th, 1920 on the campus of Howard University, and we're approaching our centennial, 100 years of service. Our organization is international, and we have over 125 members, 125,000 members rather. I am the president of Beta Alpha Tau Zeta chapter, which is a local chapter in Baltimore County, Maryland. We meet primarily in Perry Hall or the Essex area, and we have several partnerships in the community. We donate goods to local shelters in Baltimore County. We have our adopted school where we mentor youth and provide activities and do a lot of service in the community. We'd like to thank Councilman Jones for hosting us today. We're really excited about learning more opportunities where we can benefit the county, work with the council in areas which need additional representation, and we are really, really interested in learning how we can advocate for disparities in different minority groups and disenfranchised groups and all the citizens of Baltimore County. It is certainly a privilege, to be here, and we thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Councilman Jones.
Yes, Ms. Lissette, I guess want to take this opportunity to thank Zeta Phi Beta for all your work and efforts in Baltimore County, and I'd like to thank you for your leadership. And just to remind everybody that, you know, the government, we do our very best, but the government can't do it all. The government can't do it alone. And it takes organizations such as yours and your members that really make a difference in the lives of the people in Baltimore County. So I thank you so very much for all you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councilman Jones, I do have a question. Councilman Jones, I did have a question. Did you purposely coordinate your attire today?
No comment.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. Any other questions or comments?
Of course, I coordinated.
And as
Good color choice, Councilman.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, as Councilman Jones said, we all really much appreciate the service that your group and many groups such as yours provide to the county, purely on a voluntary basis, gives back to the area. It really is exceptional work that your group does, and we do appreciate it. Really, it's the social fabric that keeps our community strong. Really, really, it comes a long way for everything you all do. So thank you, and please keep it up. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And our last speaker this evening is Mr. Jim Fisher. And good evening, Mr. Fisher.
Oh, boy. So I just want to say thanks to Mr. Jones and Mr. Patoka. I want to talk about my sewage charge odyssey. So in December of 2017, I got a bill from Baltimore City, the Water Department, that had a meter reading of June of that year. I did not get a September bill. And I moved to Towson to attend Towson University, and I've been here for 30 years. And sort of what Mr. Jones has said, every quarter I get my water bill, I pay it. I have a mortgage, so I pay my mortgage. I pay my taxes through my escrow, and for 30 years my water bill was $30, and then in December of 17 I get a bill that had a meter reading date of June, and it was $500. So I immediately called a plumber, and he came out and he said, yes, you have a leak, and it's between the meter and the house, so you're responsible. And I got that done immediately. Then I went, that was for $3,600. Then I contacted Baltimore City, and they have this lovely website, and it says, put your information in. And I did, and I hit send, and I got the response back, somebody will be with you. And weeks turned into months, and never heard anything back. So then I called, and you sit on the phone for endless amounts of time, and nothing happened. Eventually, I had to go down to Baltimore City and meet with someone, and they were terribly nice. And they said, we'll adjust your bill, because that's the standard procedure. Eventually, they got back to me, and they said, well, we can only adjust for 2 quarters, so we can only take some number off. So I ended up paying $600 for a bill that would normally be about 3/4 of 30, so about $90. And I just felt I can't fight City Hall, so I just paid my $600, and I just moved on. Well, then I look at my escrow account, and as Mr. Jones was saying, it's paid through my mortgage, so I don't ever really open up my bill, because every 6 months out of my escrow comes to my $2,400, which is half of my $4,800 or so bill. And I then called Baltimore County and said, hey, I just looked at my bill. Normally my sewage fee is $600. Now it's $4,700. And they said, well, that's because it's based on Baltimore City. And she said, you can appeal, but the appeal window is done. 90 days, you can't do anything, sorry. And I pleaded with the woman, like, hey, this, it's not a even Citibank only charges you $39 if you're late. I mean, yeah, so.
You can keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so I could understand if my $600 sewage charge maybe had a 10% surcharge or something, or even a 20% surcharge, but this is multiples, multiples, multiples. And just like Mr. Jones is saying, the government should serve us with some fairness. And I did, and as Mr. Jones says, you feel discouraged. And I think some people would maybe, as I did with Baltimore City, I just got discouraged and I paid the $600 more than I should have. But I'm just a school teacher, so $4,100 extra is kind of a bite in my paycheck. So then I contacted Mr. Patoka's office, and his aide, Mr. Silverman, have been working tirelessly for me. But they did sort of send me back to the Baltimore City Bureau, and that's taken weeks and months to contact them and get back. And eventually I did talk to some people there that were incredibly responsive and did start to email me within days, which was nice. But then that again got back to Baltimore County, and the response was, oh, we have a record here that you called in January and it was too late, and it's still too late. It's too late. So then I contacted Mr. Patoka's office again, and Mr. Silverman has said, well, yeah, we kind of agree. This seems terribly unfair, and that's where we are right now.
Councilman Patoka?
Thank you, Mr. Fisher, for coming in, and I'm sorry for the ordeal that you've had to go through simply to just pay your bill. And I think Ms. Rogers is here, and she's the boss. And so you have an opportunity and you have shared your story with our county administrative officer, and I think you heard her commitment earlier that we're moving towards a customer service, customer-friendly mode. And so I think you've come to the right place, and thank you for having the courage to come up and speak tonight.
Well, thanks.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Now, I guess thank you for coming out as well, Mr. Fisher, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to get to the bottom of this. But let me just be one to say that I apologize that you have to go through this, and people here, as well as the new administration, is working hard to make sure we fix your problem and the problem of others that come behind you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Councilman
Yeah,
Couch?
You said you got an initial bill of $500 and you settled for $600?
Oh yeah, there's more to it. Oh. So remember that initial December bill was a meter reading of June. So when they eventually read the meter in December or in January for the March bill, then the water bill was $3,600, right? Because the previous meter reading was June of 2007. So sometime between June of 2007 and January of 2018, that's when the leak was. And, I mean, the leak could have started in July. Yeah, so, I mean, that's part of the issue, too, that I didn't get it. So that's, yeah, so they did take off $3,000 off of $3,600. So.
And you moved to Towson 30 years ago to go to Towson?
Yes.
Graduated after 30 years?
28.
What subject do you teach?
I teach world history.
Okay, I was a math teacher.
Oh, nice.
Social studies always say math's more important than... What?
Well, my brother teaches math. So.
Where do you teach, Mr. Fisher?
I teach in Howard County.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm not going to ask why.
Well, I will tell you why.
Okay.
The money.
Right.
Yeah. the salaries are much better, and a lot of people follow the money.
Well, if you heard the county executive's budget message this morning, we're moving towards trying to recruit highly qualified teachers.
Is there any other questions or comments for Mr. Fisher? Everybody good on the side? All right, well, thank you so much for coming out, and Susan and the Zetas, and thank you all for really taking the time to join us, and I really do appreciate it on behalf of the council, and do want to wish you all a very safe drive home. Thanks so much.
Have you guys not heard? Oh, believe me, we've heard it.